Hello and welcome to the first episode in what I tentatively call Kraken's campaign. Um, Episode 1, maybe episode 0, because this is like a lot of lore and backstory and explanation. So, welcome. Introductions first, right? My name's Paul. I'm 45 and I am single. The campaign that I'm referring to, the big story behind all of this is that in 2026, I am going to be actively dating. And this video series, which may only last a couple episodes, it may stretch right through the entire year, we don't know, is just to document how that goes. It may go fantastically. It may just crash and burn and give us all a couple of stories. But either which way, I wanted to document it and share it with y'all and see how it goes. That's going to include going on dating apps again. It's going to include going on speed dating nights. It's going to involve going to singles nights. It's going to potentially involve going on the holidays where it's like singles only. It's going to maybe even involve going up to people in the street that I find really attractive and going, "Hey, hi, um, I think you're really cute, and I know that you're busy, but I would like to get your number." Along those lines. I don't know. I haven't really planned that far yet. But any which way, 2026 is actively seeking to find someone. I guess we need a bit of a backstory. I mean, all episode zeros involve backstory, right? You might know me already. For those of you who do, I do post quite a lot of content about being single and how important it is to go out on solo dates. Even simple things like going to the cinema, going to libraries, coffee shops, art galleries, right up to things like sitting in a restaurant on a Saturday night on your own and just enjoying the moment. There's nothing wrong with being single. There's nothing shameful or embarrassing or anything to feel guilty about. And I have tried very hard over the last 5 years of being single to post content in order to say, hey, let's celebrate it. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We have a space here and we can enjoy our own company. And being able to sit with yourself and enjoy being single means that you're not compromising anything whenever you start a relationship. However, I am blessed to have a good life. I'm very healthy. I have my own home. I have a pretty stable job. I do an awful lot of content creation on the side. I have two beautiful cats. I have built a community of incredible people all across the world. And quite often I hear similar sort of things. And I think a lot of single people hear this as well. It's like, why aren't you dating? Why aren't you going out there? Why aren't you with someone? Have you met anyone yet? Even just at the Christmas dinner recently, that was like, so are you seeing anyone? I am happy with my single life. However, I do notice that sometimes I would like to share that with someone. What that'll look like, I'll probably share in a separate video. We can do the daydreams, but yeah, I think 2026, I want to actively go out there and see if I can find someone to share that space with. And it's scary. So that's why I wanted to make these videos, because at least then I'm holding myself to account and checking in with y'all and letting you know how it goes. And whenever things go horribly wrong, if they go horribly wrong, let's try and be a little bit more optimistic about it, I guess. But yeah, share adventures, share stories. I know it's not going to be an easy experience. I'm not under any illusion that I'm going to go out and that it's going to be incredible. I know how depressing and painful dating apps can be, and I'm going to try and share some of that here. I know that going on things like singles nights and speed dating kind of feels like meat at a cattle market, and you feel degraded because it's not natural. But I'm also not under the illusion that if I continue living the life that I live, that anything is going to change unless there's some sort of meet cute. I've been single for 5 years. I know the way that, unfortunately, society works. women aren't going to approach me and go, "Hey, you're cute. Can I get your number?" Um, as much as that would take the pressure off me as an introvert, and I would appreciate it, but it doesn't happen. So I feel like I need to be a bit more proactive, and maybe this will help me work up the bravery because I get to go, okay, I'm going to try this. If not for me, at least for y'all, so you can see what it's like going out there again. It's daunting. For those of you who don't know me, though, I feel like we should give some sort of backstory to explain how we've got here. So I've been single for 5 years. I'm 45, so I have lived a bit of a life. I have had serious partners before. My first serious partner was whenever I was 21 and I was in university, and we met at a nightclub, and it was probably my first serious girlfriend because I moved out at 19 from my parents' home, and I was never going to start dating while I was living at home. It just never occurred to me. It wasn't under my intention, and I grew up very poor. So it's not like I could afford to really take them to the ice cream store or go shopping with them or whatever. Um, I was a very introverted, shy kid, and it wasn't until someone took me under their wing. We'll call her Jay. I met her whenever I was 16, and she kind of nursed me into building up the courage to even talk to women. It was very nerve-wracking and terrifying, but those were the days. But I started dating then at 21, met my partner, and we were together for 15 years. During those 15 years, some dramatic things happened. Like I lost my dad. She lost her grandfather. Things happened. But we worked together, we lived together, we ended up getting married. We were very codependent. And for anyone who has experience with codependent relationships, eventually they sabotage and explode. By the time she had an affair, we were married, coming up to our 3-year anniversary. But by that point, we were different people. I don't think either of us really had the courage to end the relationship, even though neither of us were really happy at that point. We'd compromised a lot of ourselves. We had trimmed to make sure that we worked around each other. We spent nearly every weekend moment together. It just wasn't working. And if it wasn't for the affair, I don't think we would have ever really got somewhere. We certainly wouldn't have found happiness. Whenever that relationship ended, I wasn't the best of people. I wasn't in the best of places. I ended up jumping right back into the dating scene because I felt like if I wasn't dating someone, I was just terrified about being single at that point. I went into an awful lot of relationships, and to my discredit, I was quite often stuck in this loop where I would start a relationship with someone and I would end it over the most trivial things for the most part. Some of them were genuine, but in that marriage, I had ignored red flags because I had no experience, and I was incredibly sensitive to red flags whenever I started dating again at the age of 36. So it was a string of casual relationships and very much me trying to take back control. It's not an excuse. I was not a good person at that point. I was traumatized from the divorce, and I saw myself as damaged goods and treated the dating scene as just a place where I could bleed. It wasn't a good spot. It wasn't a good, healthy mindset. And yeah, I did fall in love again. About 6 months later, I met someone who was also in a very troubled place. Our relationship was very intense, dramatic, huge arguments. It was constantly like arguing with each other in order to say how much we loved each other, how much we cared for each other, and then we would like just implode, and it was just toxic as hell. Um, we went through that cycle for nearly 2 years, and then I learned a lot. um, I would hope that anyone who went through that kind of experience would learn, but thankfully I did. It wasn't a good place at all. But it took us a little while. But after 2 years, we learned how to close the door and keep it locked, and that was the best thing for both of us. Then, after about a year, I started dating again. That brought us up to around February 2020. I went on dating apps and I met someone new, and that was the third time I fell in love. She was an American girl who had just moved to Belfast for work purposes, and it was a whirlwind romance. I had never had a relationship like that before. She was very caring and smart, intelligent and sweet, and I was in awe of her in many ways. But that was February 2020. And for those of you who don't remember, March 2020 was COVID lockdown. So after meeting each other and everything being incredibly wonderfully sweet, all of the borders started closing and she moved back to America. At the time, we thought it was going to be temporary. We figured 3-6 months at most, everything will kind of resolve, settle back to the way they were. She would come back to Belfast. We'd pick up from where we left off. We tried the long distance thing for a while. But in September 20, she decided that she was going to stay in America. And that's when my single period started officially. I mean, obviously, there has been a few casual dalliances, I guess, is the best way to explain it. Whenever you just decide to maybe go on the dating apps and meet someone, or, contact an ex that you met back in the day. But single for 5 years. And that kind of brings us up to where we are now. I'm glad for being single for this long. It's given me a lot of time in order to work out the kind of person that I am, the kind of person that I would like to meet, the importance of the relationships, how important it is not to become codependent and make sure that we have our own space and do our own thing and have our own interests. It was a good time. And I think that I've had that space to grow. But now that I am starting again, I guess the important thing is just going out there and being sensible and mature, but also making sure that I don't turn my solitude and singleness into a fortress that I will spend the rest of my days in. I think I would be okay if that was the case, but I feel like I should at least try, and I get to take you with me. So, 2026, I will try all of these different things. I will document how they go. I will hopefully give some insight to folks who maybe haven't tried. Maybe I can give some inspiration to the folks who are a little bit nervous to try going out and dating again. Maybe I can shine a little bit of light on what things are like from the other side of the fence, because I know that, well, men suck. I have a lot of incredible friends, and they're women, and I have seen their DMs. The bar is low. I can see that from here. It is shocking. So maybe whenever I do start going out there, and I meet someone, that it would be very easy for us to connect, because there isn't much competition, I guess. It's maybe a good way to see it. But also, I know that I have my own problems. I am not perfect by any means. But that's not why you start relationships. You go out and you just find someone who meets you sort of halfway. I don't believe in the one. I think that's important in order to clarify. I don't think the one is out there, and I'm sick of cliches. I hate cliches with a fiery passion. It'll happen when it happens. It's dumb. When it'll happen when you least expect it. Ridiculous. Um, I think it's important to realize, even for guys especially, that you maybe need to make the effort. You need to look after yourself. You need to be healthy. You need to have a healthy mindset. Try and be a little bit of optimistic. Sure, I get it. Be open to things, trying new things, meeting new people, seeing what way it goes. Um, I don't think that everybody approaches dating in the same way. I know that I'm probably going to meet people whenever I start dating again that are still in the midst of trying to work out who they are or heal from a previous relationship. And I've done all that work. And I know that it's not easy, but it needs to be done before you really approach dating again, because otherwise you could potentially start dumping your problems on other people and causing more issues. It just snowballs into other problems. I don't want to do that. I've made sure that while being single, I have looked after myself. And again, I have an incredible community. I have wonderful friends. They would keep me right, and they have kept me right. It's not their responsibility. I know that. Um, but even whenever I have explained situations to them about X, Y, and Z, they've been able to give me an alternative point of view, mindset. Um, I may even have some of them here. After situations or dates have come and gone, I can maybe explain what's happened to them, and they could tell me what they thought, just to get a different perspective. And I think that's also important. You need to talk to your friends about situations, so that even if maybe you don't understand what's happened, they may be able to shed some light onto it. So if this runs all the way through 26, expect to see some different faces on here. I will share more stuff from my background and how we got to this place, what inspired the things that I've written, and things like poetry and short stories and whatnot, because I spent 5 years bleeding on a page as well. Um, but yeah, that's where we're at. So for 26, if you would like to spend some time with me, if you're still watching this video, um, that is my plan for the next 12 months. Maybe shorter, and maybe run a lot longer. We do not know. But either which way, this is hopefully the beginning of a wonderful adventure. And if you're still watching, I love your face. Thank you for being here. And I will let you know what happens when the next thing happens. Bye.